Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another episode of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krunzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to us. This is coming to you from always as the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey.
Thank you.
This is the Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project and Allied Construction and Roofing. So we encourage you to check out our sponsors, and we thank them for their sponsorship as always. This is episode number 84, Ochenta y Cuatro on the Spanish dial. You can send your questions at any time, of course, to mypbshow@gmail.com, or what has become the more popular way, and I say this a lot to get questions to us, that is you can DM them to us through our Instagram page, which is also across your screen at Mind Your Puckin' Business on the Instagram platform. You can listen to today's show or this week's show, any of these four choices of yours, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, or Facebook. So whichever platform you're tuning in on, we appreciate you tuning in. And as I mentioned, where you can send your questions and answers, part of what we're going to do today on the show is we decided on the Instagram platform yesterday to open up the question gates or floodgates, if you will, for you to send in your questions. We would answer some of them, and we're going to do that today. We have a mix of questions that were submitted both on the Ranger front as well as the NFL front. So we're going to focus our day today really on both, and a lot more obviously going on in the NFL than there is the NHL at the moment, but we're going to take your Ranger questions that were submitted. Some of them I will say more than others, and this is not a knock on some of the questions, but some of the questions were very good. Like I actually had to sit back yesterday and actually think about how I would want to answer them. There was one question that I actually screenshotted, sent it to a friend of mine to try and get some help.
Wow.
Because it was actually like a really thought of question, and one that I wasn't really sure I had to think about, and I wanted a second opinion. So we're going to get to that in a minute. So want to say one thing with the Bamboozle Project that we've mentioned it. I'm not sure if I mentioned it last week, so I want to mention it again here. If you go to the Bamboozle Project, and I know if you're on the East Coast and you're listening to us, or even anywhere really in the northern half of the United States, we're kind of now shifting. Sorry, I'm fighting a cold here apparently. We're fighting the winter, not the winter coming, but the summer ending. But if you go on to the Bamboozle Project, you can see that they still have some really cool MYPB summer swag, which was created over the summer. It's still up there last I checked. I don't know if it still is, but I think it is.
Absolutely.
So you may want to go on there. If your swimsuit season is over, you could always buy one now, put it away, and use it next summer. Use it for a holiday gift, which I know some people who ordered told me they were going to do, which I was a little surprised at. But
maybe you're going on a trip.
Maybe.
Yeah. You don't want to wear the old summer stuff. You want to wear the new going on a trip.
Fresh new MYPB gear. But I will say, not that I am partial to things, but I am with this. There is one thing on the Bamboozle Project site of Mind Your Puckin' Business apparel that is by, to me, the best thing out there. You know what it is? No, and I've had people tell me how good it is.
I'm going to take a guess. You want me to guess? You want me to ruin the surprise?
No, go.
I want to say it's the hat.
Yes. The winter hat. And I know nothing about fashion. Yeah. If anyone who's listening knows me, they know I am not a fashionista. I come in these stupid t-shirts like you see me wearing today. The hat is, I'm not just saying this. It is the world's most comfortable winter hat. It is cheap. Yes, you can brand MYPB show wherever you go. But anyone who has bought the hat that I know of has come back to me and talks about the hat so much so that a couple weeks ago someone had mentioned, oh, well, if the cold weather's coming, I've got my hat ready because it's comfortable. It keeps me. It is the greatest winter hat, and I believe it's only maybe $20, $25. Plus, you use promo code MYPB. You save 25%, which basically makes the shipping completely free, and then some. And I still think you save a couple dollars. I'm telling you, if you don't like it, if you spend the hat and you don't like it, and you buy it, and you say to yourself, it's not comfortable, he's wrong. I will personally.
Wow.
You let me know.
Wow.
You send us an email. That's how confident I am in the winter hat that they sell with us on it. Everything else, not that there's anything wrong with the sandals or the bikini or the other stuff that they have on the site.
You put the bikini on?
I did not touching that.
Most comfortable bikini you've ever put on?
It's amazing. Our subscriber count will plummet overnight if that happens. But get the winter hat at the time of the year, whether you like it or not, where you will need it, is coming in a few months. So let's start with some Q&A with the Rangers here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the question that I got yesterday, where I got it. I was like, whoa, good question. Didn't think of this. And I went to someone for some help. And that person that I went to for help was not you. Not that it was a surprise.
Not that it was a surprise, even worse. There's 2 daggers in that statement. Thanks. But go ahead.
If it was the NFL Dougie Sticks, I would have went to you.
Thanks.
All right. So one other thing coming up on the show today, you don't want to miss. And I should have said it. NFL picks, of course, week 2.
Yeah.
If you listen to us week 1 and you listen to what I told you to do, you definitely are going to be listening to week 2 with how we did week 1. Anyway, so the question, and it was actually the first question that someone submitted yesterday, was, when does Ryan Lindgren get the A? Now, what that means is, if you didn't know, when does he get the A on the sweater for an assistant captain? And I thought about it right away, and I said to myself, that's a really good question, because Ryan Lindgren is kind of this blue-collar defenseman, gets down, blocks shots. He got hurt in the playoffs, but he ends up playing through the pain. He's just like kind of a gritty warrior, and it was a great question. And then I sat there and I thought to myself, but the Rangers have such a complement of more offensive players, if you will, on this team. The Kreiders of the world, the Zabinajads of the world, the Panarins, that maybe they're going to not block Ryan Lindgren from getting the A, but they're not going to give out a surplus of everyone wearing an A. So here's what I've decided. Ryan Lindgren is not going to get the A anytime soon. I went away from what my first instinct was. Okay. Doesn't mean the guy doesn't deserve it. I just think there's other players on the team right now that are more deserving, and you can't really give out a ton of them, right? It's like, you can't. Not everyone's getting player of the game. There's only so many spots. So I think Ryan Lindgren down the road on this team, when you see players like Jacob Trouba, who probably won't be here in 5 years, other players who are occupying either a captaincy spot or an assistant captain role leave, it will open up the door, and Ryan Lindgren would be a logical choice. But to answer the person's question, I don't think you're going to see it this year. I'm going to assume that when the 2022-2023 season ends, and let's hope that that's not the late spring, hopefully late in June, but I'm pretty sure that when it ends, barring an injury or something, which we wouldn't want to anyone, I don't think you're going to see the assistant captaincy logo on Ryan Lindgren's jersey. So that was the first question that I was going to take. Now I had that one was an obvious one to me, and then there were some these other questions, and I'm not going to get to them all that were submitted, but I want to get to the ones that I thought were better than others. And I encourage you again, even if we're not doing Q&A on the show, if you've sent us stuff before, either to our email or to our DM, we're pretty responsive. You'll get an answer from us. It may not be instantaneous.
Or live with us today.
Or live with us today.
In the comment section.
Then you throw us off because we don't have time to prepare. So the question, another one, which was good, is the workload schedule for Igor, right? So the concern is you had a long season. The Rangers played into June, right? Because you had the season start later, so it ended later. And on top of it ending later, the Rangers went late, as it was, going to Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Plus, now you only have really a short offseason. The Ranger training camp, which will be open in next week. The Rangers played their last game 3 months ago, 2 days ago, 3 months ago. So it's a very short offseason. So the workload for Igor, it's a fair question. The concern that I have is if you say, well, Igor's not going to play 20 games, he'll play 62 of the 82. Right. So you take these other 20 games and you say, okay, so what's the game plan in these games? And it's Yaroslav Halak. That's the backup that they signed. Because again, fast forward, Gorgiev's now in Colorado. Keith Kincaid is up in Boston. So Halak is the backup. The concern is, and it's valid, is would you settle for those 20 games to know that you're going to be 10-10? And I think the answer is you probably would. Although a year ago, when you had Gorgiev, 10-10 would be a low expectation. You would want to be higher than that. So it is a very valid point that it's going to be interesting in the games that Igor Shesterkin doesn't play in. And the Rangers do have, if you look at their schedule, and I only know their schedule really because we know I have tickets and stuff. So I kind of know they have a lot of back-to-backs, and Igor's not going to play back-to-backs. He's not going to play 2 nights in a row. So you can already pencil in, whenever you see a back-to-back, that's one of the 2 games he's not playing in. So, the concern is going to be Halak, because at the end of the season, as it is every year in the NHL, The playoff spots are missed by a point here or there, determines home ice. So there's going to be some pressure, I hate to say it, on Yaroslav Halak that he's going to have to be dependable in backup. You can't go 5-15 in the 20 games you play because that's a lot of point. That right there, that's 10 points you missed. There's a big difference. So it's going to be something to watch, the backup goalie situation, and hope that Yaroslav Halak can kind of hold serve, if you will. Not necessarily go 17-3. That's not really fair. But as long as he can kind of hold serve in the games he's playing in, I think they'll be okay. Another question, which is going to be a very popular question that people are going to get asked, or you're going to see written about as the season approaches in 3.5 weeks, is, hey, Chris Kreider, career year, over 50 goals, is he going to have the same year? That, to me, is a very easy question to answer, and the answer is no, he's not. I would love to be wrong, but I think if you go into the year and you have the expectation that Chris Kreider is going to do this season what he did in 2021 and 22, it's not fair. And it's not fair to Chris Kreider. I think you're probably going to see him put more 30 goals up, which if you think of the inconsistent player he's been in previous years up until this year, I think in some ways you signed for it, right? Like if you took out last year and you didn't know he had the over 50 goals, you may sit there and say, you know what, Chris Kreider gives me 30 goals as a top-line winger. I'll take it. That would be fine. So I think having realistic expectations for Chris Kreider is important because I don't think he's going to do what he did last year. Now, a term that Dougie Sticks over here to my right coined, which was the Gallant bump. When the Rangers hired Gerard Gallant, before they even opened training camp last year, we talked on the show that historically, Gerard Gallant in his first year when he had gone to teams, whether it was the Florida Panthers or the Vegas Golden Knights or even Columbus to an extent, had a very positive first year. And Dougie Sticks coined the term the Gallant bump.
Oh, thank you.
Meaning that he's pregnant, but he's not pregnant. So the Gallant bump. Now, someone wrote, and I guess someone looked this up, which is a great research by this person, that the second year, there's always been a drop-off from Gallant's first year. That is also a fair concern going into the season. Now, the million-dollar question within that question is how much of a drop-off are we talking? If we're going to talk that the Rangers are going to drop 5 or 10 points from their point total last year, probably not the end of the world. You don't like to see it. But if they drop 30 points, there's going to be a concern. So the fact that you have that and the short offseason, I think, is a concern. When we do our Ranger preview show, and we're going to try and have Dan Rosen from the NHL.com join us, I think one of the themes, and I've seen this with some other people, I've seen Johnny Lazarus talk about this exact topic, that the Rangers may, and I don't want to tease this, and we're not going to get into it right now, but considering that I'm here to be honest, there's definitely concern that the Rangers are not going to have as good of a good year as they had last year. It doesn't mean they'll be bad and miss the playoffs, but remember, you have a lot of room to go down and not a lot of room to go up from the year they had. So in answering that question, where's the more logical?
We're going up, baby.
You want to go. So I think like your goal is for Undefeated Media on like a Friday in June to be doing like a live remote episode of the Mind Your Puck and Business podcast from like
MSG, baby, on the ice.
Well, not that, but
go big or go home.
From the Canyon of Heroes, like as the Rangers go up in their, ticker tape parade, Stanley Cup style. Absolutely. And there you are, like, we are. Right. But I look at you, it's more you when it comes to these dreams.
You don't have that dream too? You don't share in this dream?
I do, but I don't ever allow myself to have them because I only get disappointed with the Rangers. Other teams I will. Other teams that I like, and every other team I like is terrible right now anyway in sports. But with the Rangers, I never will. Like the Rangers could be up 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they could be up 4-0 in the clinching game with 20 minutes left, and I'm still gonna like the pessimistic me is gonna be like, we're not thinking of the parade because it's the Rangers. So no, I don't think like that. But for you, we'll put you in the dream, and that's your.
I'll take the optimistic role.
Yes, and
I think the positive. I'll lead the charge with the positivity and the optimism. Let's go. I already got my jerseys.
Which, when we do the Ranger preview show, you're going to hear a story of a highway robbery of what you got Ranger jerseys for.
Yes.
And we'll
save that story for.
I think that when we do the Ranger preview show in 3 weeks, I think that it really couldn't be a better time for you to wear a jersey for the first time on the show.
100%.
And
I can wear a bunch of
I was going to say, you could really wear. You could wear a different jersey for
Half
every
the
5 minute
season.
every 5-minute segment of the show. You could wear
Yeah.
if it's a 40-minute show with Dan Rosen again. Hopefully he'll come on with us again. Why not?
Well, I mean, if I wear one per show, I'm rocking like half a season right there.
We're already in season 4 next September. Dougie Sticks Wardrobe. So that's it on the Ranger front. I appreciate the questions. If you're disappointed, and I know someone was last week, that we didn't really touch on the Rangers at all this week. There's just not a lot going on. Stay with us for a couple weeks if you're looking for Ranger stuff. We will be going very, very heavy on Ranger stuff, probably starting in about 2 or 3 weeks. So the time is coming. Shifting to the other sport that we cover a lot of, NFL.
Yeah.
What did you think? And again, you and I don't rehearse anything.
Absolutely not.
And we don't really, I'm not saying this is a good thing. You and I are never like prepare, like we know the topics coming. So we kind of bounce around. So without talking about it with you before, because I was a little late getting in here this morning anyway to talk to you.
Yes.
Your thoughts on NFL week 1 was what?
Crazy. 1. 2, do field goal kickers not practice in the offseason?
Fair question.
3, Saquon may be back.
Okay.
And there seems to be a changing of the guard. Some teams that used to be up at the top.
That was a question we're answering for
some
people
teams
today.
that were on the top are looking like they're going to have a rebuild, and some teams at the bottom are looking like they're pumped up. Like the Detroit Lions.
Okay. Well, they lost, but they covered. We'll get to picks in a little bit. So, all right, let's start here. I'm going to go in chronological order of the way things went down. Thursday night, as always, the defending Super Bowl champion, it's a kind of NFL rules, gets the home opener to kick off the season, and that was out in Los Angeles against the Bills. Did you watch this game Thursday night?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had so my kids and I were watching something, or my son had something else on TV. It was like 8:20. And I said, dude, like, we're putting on football. It's the first. I'm not watching this on Netflix.
And it's like the second Super Bowl. It's like the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And look, your first football game of the year, like whether it's your team or not, you're into it. And Buffalo's not my team, neither are the Rams. But so you turn it on, first drive, Josh Allen is like 5 of 5, goes down the field like he's basically playing a high school defense. The game went in a half and it was close, although Buffalo kind of shot themselves in the foot with some turnovers there in the first half. And then they just kind of pulled away and dominated in the second half. So one of the questions, which is fair, that we got yesterday, or maybe it actually was this morning that this one came in, was, are the Bills this good? I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah, I think they are. And I think the Rams have some things to work on, and I think they were a little exposed by some of these things that the Bills were able to show rather than the Bengals.
So you answered it with a question that was the answer. You did well, and are the Rams that bad? Right? Like, is there issues with the Rams? And there is. So are the Bills this good? The answer is yes. Look, literally 7 days ago, I sat here and picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl. So they better be good, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're bad or I got a problem. But I picked them to play the 49ers in the Super Bowl, who lost in Chicago. So I may want to go back on that one. And Trey Lance looked terrible. So, all right. So are the Bills this good? No, but they're very, very good. The key with them, and I'm not saying anything here that's like, wow, what a great point. They need to stay healthy. If Josh Allen stays healthy, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, even Dawson Knox, who's I think a little bit underrated on the tight end front in the NFL, can stay healthy. That offense is great. So are they as good as we saw last week? I don't know. And they're going to play a better defense this week. They play on Monday Night Football against Tennessee. But we'll see. The key for Buffalo, I said this last week, and then I read about it in an NFL preview like the day after. And again, I said it before I read it somewhere. The key for the Bills is this. If you need to get home field advantage in the playoffs, and that's what they've never had. They need the 1 seed, because what you want is whoever is going to play you in the AFC Championship game, and I'm going to guess it's probably a team coming out of the AFC West. Maybe it's the Chargers, maybe it's the Chiefs, maybe I wouldn't say it's the Raiders, but you need that team to come into cold Buffalo where you used to live and have to play there.
With the craziest fans in the world.
With the craziest fans in the world. And that's what you need. So the Bills, are they that good? I don't know they're as good as we saw, but they're very good. And as long as they get the number 1 seed, I'm standing by them to win the Super Bowl.
Nice.
But if you're the Rams, I think there's issues there.
Yeah.
How many times, even Cincinnati to an extent this past weekend, who couldn't kick a field goal, as you mentioned, twice. But even Cincinnati, as you mentioned, or the Rams, the 2 teams in the Super Bowls, there's always kind of a regression that year after. It's very hard to get back there. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a psychological thing or what. But historically, if you do your research, the teams, they don't usually get back. You don't really see back-to-back champions.
They get complacent. They we're good, and then they don't train in the off season. They come back and they're sluggish.
We shall see. Another question submitted, and I'm going to answer this question with a question also.
Oh, okay.
Are the Vikings now the top team in the NFC? Okay.
You're asking me.
Well, I'm going to ask you. I'm asking you.
I thought you were answering with the question. I thought you were answering with a question of a question.
I'm going to answer it with a question. All right. So the question is this, because they played the Packers, which is where this question is being born from.
Yes.
Are the Packers as good as they were? The answer is no.
No, absolutely not.
I wanted to. I don't think I said it last week, so I can't take credit for it. But when I looked and I saw, I think the Packers had like an 88% chance of winning the NFC North. They may still, right? It's 1 week. The one thing with the first week in NFL, whether you're evaluating a team or evaluating your fantasy team, whatever, you can't overreact, right? It's 1 week, but it's the only data you have. So it's like you're reacting, but you got to remember, like, there's a lot more data that's going to come in, right? So we're not writing the Packers off. However, you lost Devontae Adams, right? Now I'm sitting here and when I watched this game the other day, because we were home for it, and I watched it.
Yeah.
Where's Aaron Rodgers going to throw the ball? Who's he going to throw to?
Dude, this is something we've talked about 2 years ago when he was crying that they didn't draft a wide receiver. Like, come on. Like, how is this like so
right?
Like,
breaking news. If Aaron Jones has a good year, and he can, although with Aaron Jones, because I've had him in fantasy in some years, injuries are always a concern with this guy. But let's say Aaron Jones stays healthy. Yeah. Okay. And defenses have to respect the running game. Okay. And it opens up maybe some more passing opportunities for Aaron Rodgers. And I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I've never liked the guy. I think he's a jerk. But I respect him. He's good, right? I'm not. But he's also now older. He lost the best weapon in the league. How are they going to be good?
I don't know.
I didn't really think their defense is great. Justin Jefferson is elite, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Justin Jefferson, by the way. Out of all my fantasy teams, and I do too many, my one that is really important, he's on. Yeah. And I won specifically because of the game he had. He had like 35 points at halftime. But Justin Jefferson, after the game the other day, even said, I was surprised at how open I was. If the Packers defense is that bad, or I shouldn't say that bad. If the Packers defense is not elite or very good, and Aaron Rodgers has no one to throw to, how's this team going to be good?
I don't know. Who did they draft that he was ticked off about? They drafted a quarterback. Who? I don't even remember.
I don't remember.
Obviously didn't pan out.
Well, no, it's like, well, it's when they drafted him when Favre was there. He's, whoever's drafted,
but
he's waiting in the wings.
Yeah, but we knew he was waiting in the wings. We knew Trey Lance or whatever San Francisco was waiting in the wings with Jimmy Garoppolo. Who's at Green Bay? Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know.
These are my favorite. These are my favorite because you look at it and you're like, this is a stupid move. And then here we are 2 years later, and they're like going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
I don't know that the Packers will be one of the worst teams in the NFL. But, and here's the other thing. Vegas certainly disagrees. Now, they're playing the Sunday night game this week. Yeah. And they're home versus Chicago, who's not good, even though they won last week. But Packers are a 10-point favorite. For a team that, like, I'm sitting here saying to myself is not that good, 10 points is a lot. I'm not taking that game in the picks when we do week 2 picks.
That's a dangerous pick.
Yeah. Because you could see, like, them winning by 12 or 13.
Totally do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a dangerous game. It's almost like it's teasing you because it's like the 1-0 team is a 10-point underdog versus a team that looked terrible. But it's like it's a trap game betting wise. Like, I'm not touching it. There's just something that just seems fishy. Yeah. I don't like either side of it. I mean, one of the sides is going to be right. I just don't know what it's going to be. So, are the Vikings the top team in the NFC? So, you know what? As we said last week, and this is definitely true, the NFC is the weaker conference right now overall. I mean, you have the Cowboys. If you were on the Cowboys train, and I was not, but if you were, that now is taking a massive hit. Dak Prescott's out 6 to 8 weeks. So who in the NFC is really good? The only team that won in the NFC West was the Seahawks last night with Geno Smith. They're not going far. I mean, you want to say the Eagles in the NFC East? Okay. You want to say the Saints or the Bucks? I mean, the Bucks didn't look that great. Tom Brady's older too. I don't know. I mean, you know what? Look, I think you can make the argument that the Vikings are a top team in the NFC. But again, I caution answering that question because I don't have a lot of data. I have 1 week's worth of data. If that was going to be consistent with what we're going to see the whole rest of the season, then yes. But a very interesting and appealing Monday Night Football game coming up in week 2, where you have the 1-0 Vikings at the 1-0 Eagles. Just it's a good NFC football game. 2 teams that can surprise playing in the Eagles home opener. And if you know anything about me, you know I will be rooting for the Vikings because I can't stand anything in Philadelphia. So good luck to the Vikings there. All right. So another question we got, which wasn't really a question. When I read this, I was like, I'm not sure this is a question. Really, it's a statement because it's kind of obvious. And you actually talked about it, I think, before we started when Connor was in the studio before, which was Brian Dable's debut. Have the Giants found like the next – okay. Again, it's 1 week.
I mean, we felt the same way about with Joe Judge. His name is Joe Judge.
Yeah, but Joe Judge didn't win his opener. And he definitely didn't win his opener like that.
But we felt like we were like, all right, he might be the guy.
Well, I think Joe Judge, I think the mistake people made was that he was obviously came from the Patriots, so he was a Bill Belichick disciple, right? So, and I remember Bill Belichick gave like the Giants a very strong recommendation for him. So it was kind of like, well, you know what? He comes from the right pedigree and the right guy and all that, and then it was just a nightmare. So the Giant game, again, change of plans with the weather and kids' activities. So we were home. I was watching it. The first half was, I mean, just not watchable. It really was. The Giants weren't doing anything. They were down, 13-0 at the half. And then the game got really good in the fourth. They even had chances there to lose. But the call when the Giants score the touchdown, so to make it 2019 with a little over a minute left and a go for 2. I love this call, right? Here's the risk, right? You're a head coach. You make that call. You don't get the 3 yards to get in the end zone. I mean, you lose. You're losing the game, right? And you've got to answer questions about that. The fact that Brian Dable had the kahunas in his first NFL game in that situation to make that call, forget whether it works or not. We'll get to that in a minute. But the first, the ability to just do that and make that call, I think speaks volumes. And I think players like that, right? You want 100%, right?
Like the offense is jacked up right now.
Jacked up. Now, Saquon Barkley. You mentioned it before when we talked about NFL Week 1. Is Saquon back? I'm only going off of 1 week. We'll see what happens this week when he plays Carolina at home. However, right now, I'm kicking myself after a week that in like the 3rd or 4th round, he was still sitting there in my fantasy draft, and I didn't take him because now the potential is there for him to be back. Brian Dable, if you saw the and it was all over Twitter, and it's awesome. I'm sure you probably saw it, of him dancing in the locker room with his bald head. I mean, it's
I saw his interview, but I didn't see the dancing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, after 1 week, the Giants got the right guy. But I did say, if you go back to March, I did say the Giants should hire Brian Dable when they got rid of Joe Judge and they were interviewing all these people. Because there's something about the dude I liked, and he came from Buffalo, and he's an offensive guy. So the Giants situation gets interesting because they are now 1-0, right? Now you want to get a little excited, and I'm going to knock on wood. I'm going to knock on wood here, okay?
I'm going to knock
on wood. The Giants now are home this week, week 2 versus the Panthers. They're a 2.5-point favorite. Okay. You have a chance, not guaranteed, but you have a chance to go 2-0. Home opener, new coach. I looked on StubHub last night because I was just curious, like the buzz around like people, and the ticket prices has gone up because they won. Like people are jacked up. Like $90 to get in the worst seat in the house. That's a lot for a football game. If you don't believe me, go look at the Jets secondary market tickets right now. You can get in for like $8.
Make a couple emails. Be on the field.
Yeah, I will. It's a great story. I'll tell that one day on the show. So the Giants can go. Let's say they go 2-0, right? Now, who do they play the next week? Dougie Sticks, do you know?
I do not know.
They play on Monday Night Football home versus the Dak Prescott-less Cowboys. The Giants could win that too.
Yeah.
So the Giants have a chance. Wait a second, it gets better.
Wait, before you continue. Now, did they choose that Monday Night Football game?
Yeah, ahead of time.
But did they choose it beginning of the season? Because I know sometimes they change the Monday night games.
Yeah, Monday nights won't change. The Sunday night is the flex. You can get flexed out.
Okay.
Monday night is determined. So
gotcha.
The Giants now could win this week versus Carolina, go 2-0.
Yeah.
They could definitely beat the Cowboys. They don't have Dak Prescott at home. They're 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
Then the fourth week, they're home. They're home 3 weeks in a row. They play the Bears at home, who stink, even though they won. The Giants, realistically,
We can make the playoffs this year.
I mean, look, I'm going to get killed by people, and I know there's one person who's going to kill me for saying this. I'm not trying to jinx it, but the writing is on the wall that the Giants can have a decent start. I'm not saying they're winning the Super Bowl. I'm not like delusional.
Yeah.
But then after that,
dude,
right?
you beat an exciting week 1, beating the number 1 team last year.
Yeah. Then again, I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, keep going. I like this.
They play Green Bay, who we're not sold on. It's an away game, but it's not even in Lambeau Field. It's a neutral site game in London.
That's stupid. We'll take it.
Yeah, if you're a Giant fan, you take it.
I'd much rather play them in London than in Green Bay.
So if I step back here, right, and I know the Giants have 1 win, right, and now here's your next 4 games. The Panthers at home, who are good. The Panthers can beat the Giants. I'm not saying it's a layup this week. The Panthers are at home. The Dak Prescott-less Cowboys in week 3. The Bears home in week 4. A neutral site at Green Bay week 5. The Giants, I think at worst, should be 3-2. Could easily be 4-1 though.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say 5-0. But I mean, like, if you're a Giant fan right now, and the momentum of this coach and Saquon, I mean, I'd be.
You gotta stay up. You gotta stay pumped. Gotta stay positive. Got to fight, and we saw a good fight. The first half stunk, and they came back and fought it out against a really good Titans team. I don't think the Panthers are anywhere close to the Titans team, so you get to beat them up. Dak, who knows who's gonna be the quarterback for Dallas?
And they're not taking. And here's the other thing: they are not. And I saw this on Twitter or somewhere yesterday. Jimmy Garoppolo, because now the 49ers are probably saying to themselves, "Oh man, maybe it's a good thing we held on to him." And again, Trey Lance is my starting quarterback in my big league because Trey Lance was awful against the Bears. Now, the one thing I'm going to say about that, though, okay, the only thing I'm going to say, it was disgusting field conditions in Chicago. It was like rainy, so it wasn't really. If you're like a mobile quarterback like him and that's your game, you couldn't have worse conditions. They're going to be home versus Seattle this week, so you'll have a better take on Trey Lance this week. But the other thing with the Giants, I want to say with the defense, they held Derrick Henry to 82 yards rushing, which is not easy to do. So, yeah, with the Giants, man, I mean, you got to be kind of pumped up about it.
Absolutely.
So, all right.
I'm pumped.
Last question before we go to picks.
Okay.
All right. And this is where we'll get you kind of fired up.
I'm already fired up.
Well, we're going to get you more fired up.
Let's go.
You ready?
Yes, I am.
The New York Jets.
Oh, you were being sarcastic.
So, no, I was being real. So, the New York Jets.
Yes.
They entered this game as a 7-point underdog, home versus Baltimore, which I want to say something, and I was kicking myself a week ago. The whole Lamar Jackson playing for a contract situation because they couldn't agree on an extension only means he's going to have the greatest fantasy year ever. And I don't have one on my team. So just take that to the bank, right?
Yep.
But you start with Joe Flacco. You're a 7-point underdog. I didn't expect the Jets to win. I mean, certainly didn't expect it at all. But I didn't expect it to be that bad.
Yeah.
It was horrific. And I don't know, like, and this is what you alluded to a minute ago, and we'll tell the story as time passes. I don't want to get into it today. It's still kind of fresh about my ticket experience with the Jets a couple of weeks ago with someone there. But if you're trying to sell tickets and you're trying to, like, sell me right now on getting Jets tickets or spending your Sunday, like, other than the tailgating aspect of it and the parking lot and the food and the drink, why would I do it?
I don't know.
It's not going to get better.
Yeah, it's tough.
Tough
Joe,
is putting
Joe Flacco's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like, come on, man. Like, pump him up a little bit. I don't know, man. There's something in the water. When the Jets come into MetLife, they change the water buckets. There's something in the water.
Yeah. I don't know. I said it last year. Actually, if you go back to season 1 of this show, I think it was the first week we were on or the second week we were on. I told the story. There's an Instagram clip of it still on our page of a friend of mine texting that his son, who at the time I think was like 6 or 7, was excited for the first Jets game. And the dad warned him that by Sunday night, you will not be a Jets fan. It will be over. And it's amazing because this happens every year. Like last year,
Yeah.
I remember talking with someone that I was friends with
Yeah.
the night before, and he was all amped up for the game. The Jets were out of it by halftime week 1 last year, and the guy texted me, he's like, "I'm mowing my lawn in the second half. I'm done." And it's like the same thing here.
Yeah.
Like, and now they go into Cleveland. Like they're not going to win this week. It's I don't know.
So like, do we have we got a lot of picks, or do we play a lot of rookies? Like, is it lack of experience?
Well, Bryce Hall didn't really start. Like he wasn't even number 1 on the depth chart this weekend, which surprised people. He did, look. There was nothing positive anywhere. I mean, it's not like I'm going to sit here and try and find a positive. I'm not
the Giants who got that wide receiver that got a couple good plays. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, but it's a concern. So we'll see with the Jets. It's not going to get better. In happier news.
Oh, yes.
Ready?
Yes.
Happier news.
Yes.
Our picks last week.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I wish I bet more.
I wish I had bet more too. So again, we're coming in. We went into week 1 last week with 2 previous winning seasons.
Yeah.
So if you said, all right, they were good the last 2 years, we're going to start out year 3 with them in week 1. You're happy you did because we were 4 for 5.
Yeah.
Let's run through. So I said last week I was picking every single game. There was a consistent theme, and that was I was picking home underdogs across the entire board. I had the Lions +4 at home versus the Eagles, which kind of was a lucky backdoor. They lost by 3, so I won that. The Bears +7 I loved, and they ended up winning the game, which I was shocked at. The Falcons +5.5 at home versus the Saints. I told you that was an NFC South rivalry game. It would be close, and it was. The Texans +8 at the Colts. I told you the Colts should not be an 8-point favorite on the road anywhere, and they tied with the Texans and actually knocked me out of my Survivor. That game knocked me out of my Survivor in week 1. I'm already out. So we had those 4 right. All those games were 1:00 games. So I texted you to say we had 1 game left to be a perfect score if we could get it, and we did not get it because we had the Cardinals +4.5 at home versus the Chiefs, and that was not even close.
What happened there?
And that line moved from Tuesday when we were on because it actually closed at +6, and still it was like 20 points off.
What's going on over there?
I don't know. I don't know if the Chiefs maybe are if the Cardinals defense is that bad. If Mahomes is just on a mission now because he doesn't have Tyreek Hill to prove something because Kelsey was great. I don't know. I don't know. But we had that one wrong. But we finished the week 4-1, meaning our record so far for year 3, we are 1-0 going in to week number 2. So here we go with the week 2 mind your pucking business picks. All right.
Yeah.
I want to say that there are some weeks that spreads jump out at me. Like I'll look at the list on DraftKings. I'm like, I love this. I love this. I love this. I'm going to be completely honest and transparent and tell you that this week was not one of them. There were a few that I liked, but there weren't like huge ones that I loved. All right. So let's start here. The Steelers are getting 1 at home versus the Patriots. It's basically a pick'em game. Do I think that the Patriots are as bad as they looked in Miami? No. Do I think the Steelers are as good as they looked in Cincinnati? No. I think the Bengals didn't play well. However, the Patriots, Mac Jones, injury concern. I don't really think that he looked great. I am taking the Steelers here +1. I'm also getting a point, which isn't a lot, but it covers me like a last second kind of situation. I'm taking the Steelers +1 at home versus the Patriots, and I hope I'm right because I would love if the Patriots went 0-2. The second game, I was big on the Lions. I said it last week, week 1. I'm sticking with it in week 2. -2.5 at home versus the Commanders. If the Lions are going to go anywhere this season, you can't really start in the NFL 0-2. I want to say they know that. Dan Campbell, their coach, knows it. The Commanders are not that good either. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, and that was closer than it probably should have been. So I'm taking the Lions -2.5 to just actually have a good game and beat the Commanders at home. The next game we just talked about with the Jets. The Jets stink, right? The Browns are giving 6, which is a lot, but I'm taking the Browns -6. Here's why. Let's say the Browns score on the Jets defense. Let's say they score 20. Let's say they score 24 points. Okay. If the line is -6, that means the Jets have to score 17 points to lose. Jets aren't scoring 17 points. The Jets stink. How are they going to score 17?
Scoring 10.
They're not scoring 10.
They're not scoring a touchdown and a field goal.
So my logic here is this. I'm just thinking of how many points the Jets can realistically score, right?
Yeah.
Adding 6 to it and saying, can the Browns get that? Yeah, they can. I'm taking the Browns -6 at home versus the Jets.
Nice.
The Jaguars +4 at home versus the Colts. The Jaguars, it's Doug Peterson, who's a good coach. He won the Super Bowl in Philadelphia. He has his home debut. The Colts in Houston, completely unimpressive. Plus, I'm getting the Jaguars are getting 4, meaning I am protected at home with a field goal. I'm taking the Jaguars +4 at home versus the Colts. I struggled with the last game I wanted to take. And this is one of those games that I just feel is like a trap game, and I could see myself being wrong, but this is what I like in this. I'm taking Tennessee plus 10 next Monday night up in Buffalo. Buffalo will win the game. Tennessee, though, cannot go 0-2. They were 0-1. I expect them to at least try and keep it close. Their defense is better than what Buffalo played last week out in Los Angeles. I completely expect Buffalo to win, but I do kind of have some hope that Mike Vrabel, who does not get blown out in the NFL very often, can keep it within 10 and lose and cover the spread. So to recap the week number 2, Mind Your Puckin' Business picks, I'm taking the Steelers +1 at home versus the Patriots, the Lions -2.5 at home versus the Commanders, the Browns -6 at home versus the Jets, the Jaguars +4 home in Jacksonville versus the Colts, and Tennessee on the road up in Orchard Park, New York of Western New York next Monday night +10 at Buffalo.
Those are some good picks.
So the only game we didn't pick, we do pick the local game as well. And the Jets were included in the 5. So we have to take the Giants, who are -2.5 at home versus Carolina. So now the question is, which is really what it comes down to after what we just said. How deep of the Giant Kool-Aid are you drinking? Doug, what's your pick?
This week I'm going with the Giants because in 3 or 4 weeks we might not feel this way. So while I feel good about it, while I'm happy, while I'm energetic, while I'm optimistic, I'm going to go Giants over the Panthers because I might not have this feeling in a couple weeks.
And I see what you said, a viewer question, if you want to pull that up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, Pikachu is watching us right now.
Apparently. Is this pre-recorded?
No. The Pikachu, and Pikachu asks, is this pre-recorded? No, we are live.
We are live
right now
for about 3 more minutes. So any other question, you got to submit it quickly, Pikachu. If not, you can send it to us. We'll answer it next week, or we are back on next Tuesday morning, the same time. So the Giant game, you're taking the Giants -2.5?
Yeah, we're not going to feel this way in 6 weeks.
You know what? All right. I don't know what I want to do, but I'm going to get on your board just because I like your reasoning.
Yeah.
You know what? The Giants are giving points, and how often can I do that? I'm grateful to be in the situation. I'm going to ride the good feeling.
Ride it out.
Giants -2.5 it is. So there you go.
Nice. Those are some good picks.
I like it. So we will see how we do. And again, I apologize because someone said to me last week, they texted me and they were like, "Oh, the show didn't talk anything about the Rangers." Just not a lot going on. We're right in the middle of NFL.
We'll let you know when there's something going on.
Oh, there will be. There'll be a time in like a month and a half. You'll be like, "I wish that dude shuts up with the Rangers." You talk about something else, it'll come. But now, while we have time, talk about something else. We thank our sponsors, the Bamboozle Project, as well as Allied Construction and Roofing. Across the screen, you can check them out at thebamboozleproject.com. as well as the 25% off promo code at MYPB. Get that hat that I talked about earlier. And Allied Construction and Roofing, that is alliedconstructionusa.com.
Yes.
Check them out and tell them your friends at Mind Your Puckin' Business sent you.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you listening as always. We will be back on to recap what hopefully is as wild a week NFL week 2 as it was week 1. And we will see you next week. Thanks for listening, everybody.